Hello, this is Roman from One More Time Games, and today I'm going to show you how to play Riftforce online on Tabletopia. Let's go! Now we are in the lobby of Tabletopia, and in order to play Riftforce we first have to create a room by clicking here on Play Online, and then a new room will be created. As in real life, if you want to play with someone, you have to be in the same room as that person you want to play with. So what you have to do is now share that number, and your friend or partner can type it in the search field here. Then they will immediately find your room. The other way is that you can click on this button and copy the whole link and give that to your partner. That's also a way how you can join the room. Once your partner is in the room and took a seat, you can click on Start, and then both players have to click on Ready, and then you can continue to open the game. And when the loading is done, we are on the table for a match of Riftforce. If you've never been in Tabletopia and never used Tabletopia, please do the tutorial that is now on your screen, because it will help you and give you all the controls you need. Afterwards, we can start a game of Riftforce. In Riftforce, you are controlling an alliance of different guilds, and your goal is to gain the most Riftforce by either destroying your opponent's elementals or by controlling locations along the rift. At the beginning of the game, we will do a guild selection, and I already collected all the summoners of the 10 different guilds and put them in one stack. Then you decide who is going first. In our example, the yellow player is going first, and you give the stack a good shuffle. The first card is removed from game, as are their elementals, and then the second card goes to player number 1, and the third summoner and therefore guild goes to player number 2. Then we will display the remaining summoners in a line, and you can start with player number 1. You will start alternately picking guilds to your alliance. So back and forth you will choose different guilds until both of you have 4 guilds. The last guild, in this case the Earth Guild, is removed from the game as well, and we are almost ready to start. You would just collect all your elementals and put them in a stack. So for the yellow player it's ice, plant, fire and water in one stack. You can turn it around, turn it, and then give it a good shuffle. And the same is true for the other cards. But before I put the lightning cards also there, I want to show you something, and that's the number distribution. When you choose a guild, you will receive the summoner and 9 elementals, and of these 9 elementals, 4 elementals show the number 5, 3 elementals show the number 6, and 2 elementals show the number 7. So just displaying this here for you. And that's true for every guild. So you will always receive 9 cards of that guild with 5s, 6s and 7s. And when we look closely at the card, we can see this number and the symbol for their guild. The number is very important, as we will see shortly, for playing and activating cards, but it's also their life point value of your card. That means you have a few cards that are very strong. In the whole card deck there are 8 7s, but there are the more versatile and also more fragile cards, the 5s, from which you have 16 in total in the deck. Then, before we can start, the second player, player number 2, gets as a compensation for not going first the top card from his deck or her deck in the middle location. And then we draw 7 cards and we are ready to start. So, Riftforce is a very elegant game that is easy to learn, as you can see, because on your turn you choose one of the 3 different actions and then it's your opponent's turn. You can either play cards, activate cards, or check and draw. And I will show you all these possibilities now. Let's start with playing cards. When you play cards, you can play either cards with the same number or cards with the same elemental guild. So I could play 3 up to 3, that's the maximum, water cards here, for example, or I could mix it up and play up to 3 cards with a 5, and the guild doesn't matter. So if you're playing the same guild, the number doesn't matter, or the other way around, if you're choosing the same number, then the guild doesn't matter. I want to have a good mixture, so let's start and play 3 5s. So we play 1 5 here, 1 5 there, and the last 5 has to either go here or here. When you play cards, you can either play them as I showed you now in a line, then all the cards have to be in adjacent locations in a line, unbroken, or the other way is you could place all your cards at the same location. That's the option number 2, and you can freely choose where you want to place the cards. Yeah, so all the cards that you play in one action, they either have to go to the same space or you can place them in a line in adjacent locations. What's noteworthy here is that the 2 outer regions are not connected. Then this was your turn and it's your opponent's turn. We will just assume we are in a later stage of the game, and I will randomly distribute now cards on your opponent's side, not minding the rules for playing, just to show you the different actions that we have. Okay. Let's assume we are in a different stage of the game, and now maybe I want to activate cards. You can activate cards by discarding a card from your hand, and when you do that, you can now activate up to 3 cards from the same guild. So I could activate up to 3 water cards. Doesn't matter which number they have. Or I can activate up to 3 cards with a 5, which here happens to be perfect because I have 3 cards with a 5, so I can activate 3 cards with a 5. When you activate a card, you can choose which cards you want to activate, and it doesn't matter on which locations they are or on which position. So the card that is in front, the card that is closest to a card, is always called the first enemy, and the last card, in this case the crystal, would be now here the last enemy. Sometimes when there's only one card, it is this at the same time the first and the last enemy at that location. When you activate a card, you will resolve the abilities that are written on their guild summoner. So let's start, for example, with the plant. I look up what does the plant do. I can place 2 damage on the first enemy in an adjacent location, and then I can move this enemy to the plant's location. So I could choose now, when I activate the plant, I could either attack the air or the lightning. And I want to attack the lightning, pull it over here, and deal 2 damage to it. And that would be the activation of the plant. After each activation, I check if I destroyed any cards, and elemental is destroyed if there are enough or the same amount of damage tokens as life points on the card, or if there are more damage even on the card. Then you destroy an enemy, or then you destroy an elemental, and for each enemy elemental you will gain 1 Riftforce. With the second activation, I want to activate my water. The water places 2 damage on the first enemy. Then it has to move to adjacent location. As I said, the outermost locations are not adjacent, so it has to move into the middle. And there I also place 1 damage. All of the abilities text I have to use and execute from the top to the bottom. If I'm able to execute it, I have to execute it. So I cannot decide that the water is standing still, but I have to move it. As the third and last activation, I'm activating the ice, which places 4 damage on the last enemy if that enemy is already damaged, or if that enemy has no damage on it, I place just 1 damage here. Since we activated the water before, there is already damage on the crystal, and I can deal or place 4 damage on the card, which means there are now 5 damage on that card with 5 life points, so it's destroyed. It goes to its owner's discard pile, and I gain 1 point. But in case of the crystal, every time a crystal is destroyed, I even gain an additional point. So in that case, I even gain 2 Riftforce. This was really good for me now. That was the second action you could take on your turn. Then your turn would be over. It's your opponent's turn. When it comes back to you, we will discover now the last option. We can check and draw. I can only choose that action if I have less than 7 elementals in my hand. So right now it's good. I can do that because I only have 3 elementals in my hand. If I check and draw, I first am checking if I'm controlling any of these locations. You always control a location if you have at least 1 elemental of your alliance there. So here and here there are elementals, but on the other side there is not a single opponent. So here I would control that location because I have at least 1 elemental here and there's no enemy on the other side. So for that location, for each controlled location, you would also gain a Riftforce. And then you are drawing back up to your hand limit of 7 cards. And that's the whole action. What's important here is when you choose your check and draw action, only you can gain Riftforce from that. So even though my opponent now controls 2 locations, they don't get anything because they have themselves to decide when they want to draw the cards and gain Riftforce for the controlled location. So this is also a timing issue. You want to do that, of course, when you gain points, but sometimes there's a dilemma if you want to attack first, maybe activate first, or play first. These are the 3 actions you can take. You keep on taking actions until one of you reaches 12 points, and at that moment the game end is triggered. So you conclude the round. If you started the game, then the other player, your opponent, still gets action. So both of you have the same amount of actions. And then afterwards we check who has the most Riftforce to see who won. If there should be a tie between you two, you're just going and playing encore rounds with both players taking 1 action, and we keep on doing that until the tie is resolved. And now you know everything you need to know to get on with the game and start playing. I wish you a lot of fun. If you have any questions, let us know in our Discord channel and we're happy to help you. Have a nice day. Bye.